Today we're going to be talking about the quantifiable improvements gained through efficiencies from lean processing and continuous improvement. Realistically, it's something that can be applied to your professional life and your personal life. I mean, if you think about in terms of your day-to-day, I mean, we all commute here or Oak Park in this case from wherever we're from, and you probably likely take the same way all the time. And this is just out of a matter of convenience. You're comfortable, there's no variables in the way. And you know you're going to get there when you're going to get there. But in the meantime, while you've been taking the same route every single time, there's been new constructions, additional road, addings, and then you can use one of those routes unknowingly and then take that time and maybe get an extra cup of coffee in the morning or spend 5 extra minutes with your kids, or for us, sleep in 5 more minutes. That's really useful. But realistically, just being able to take that extra route, saving yourself 5, 10, 15 minutes in the morning, it means the world as you move forward in your day. So the continuous improvement kind of begins with what your vision is. What are you trying to achieve? What are your objectives? Basically, you're going to move from your main idea into where you're currently at, or the position that you're in as far as the how that's based on your current goal or where you want to be. And then you're going to take that information and where do you want to be, and you're going to use measurable targets. So it could be you know, time or monetary means, and base your movement forward on those targets. And then how do you get there? It's all about teamwork and collaboration, really. You can do quite a bit on your own, but collectively, more minds are better than one. So you make a plan to achieve those goals based on the measurable targets. And then how do you know you arrived? Well, you take the quantitative data. So as you're going through this process, like how much time have you saved, as opposed to how much time was spent in the beginning, or how much money is saved as opposed to how much money was spent in the beginning. And then after that, it's just ongoing improvement. You can always take something, build upon it, make it better, enhance that idea, and then you're going back to the beginning. You're creating a new goal and a new objective based on what you've achieved and your initial intent, and moving forward, creating new ones. So at the yard, we work quite a bit with consumables, tools, equipment, a lot of our self-performed rigging, re-steel work, and we did a Kaizen event not too long ago. And Kaizen essentially is a Japanese business model or mindset that follows along with this continuous improvement process. And we did it with our re-steel manufacturing processes at the yard. So it was a 4-day event, kind of getting a whole bunch of different minds together from all different avenues and areas of the company, and putting together, you know, a collective kind of framework for what we wanted to do to move forward and what we wanted to implement and improve in at the yard for re-steel. So our objectives were to improve productivity, reduce the re-steel inventory, and implementing safety improvements, which we all know is really important here at Barton Malow. So this is an example of something that we were able to achieve in productivity. We used a 2-trailer system, so we always had a truck that would be available for loading the re-steel as they went ahead and manufactured that and fabricated that throughout the day. And then the one that went out that was currently empty the night before is dropping off all of that rebar to our projects, and then in turn coming back in, loading up the inventory that we need or that was used, and putting it back on the truck. So we just took an existing, 2 existing pieces of equipment. There was no purchasing involved, and then we just utilized that more efficiently. As far as inventory is concerned, try not to pay too much attention to these numbers. Basically what we did is we looked at the sizes that were commonly used based on prior projects from 2015, 2016. And really we wanted to go through what we currently have to maintain a consistent level that is much lower than what is currently there. And then we can keep those numbers down as far as the cost of the inventory at the yard. And if you're looking at July, you're going to be seeing $398,000, and our goal was to bring those numbers down to this $227,000 approximately. So moving forward and kind of implementing new inventory processes, this is what we're hoping to achieve. And we implemented a few safety measures in here as well, in addition to the productivity on our shearing line where the rebar is actually cut. You can kind of see on this side right here, there's no clear walkway for the guys to be able to move efficiently and safely along the line. And then we built a little platform. This just gives you, again, that designated area, and these tools are now hung up on the shearing line with different hooks so they're easily accessible as you kind of move along the process. Result summary, just really quickly. As far as safety improvements, there were 10, not based on anything that was completely unsafe, but we can always improve it and make it better. Productivity, we're reevaluating the process in October just to see where our productivity and what we did, how it's grown and improved, and then at that point marking our progress and then moving forward from there. Yard space, we freed up a lot of space and reducing inventory and kind of moving things locationally to the closest convenient spot and reducing that inventory from 80, or our initial goal of 80% into 50%, which realized a lot of savings for us too. So when I first came to the yard, essentially I was kind of tasked with taking over consumables, and honestly my thought was, that's awesome, like what's a consumable really, in relation to a lot of different things that could apply differently. So here at the yard, a lot of it is your PPE, your water bottles and blades and bits and things of that nature, all things that our projects are getting from the yard, and we have to track that as far as fulfillment, how we're getting it to the job sites, the time frame that it takes to get them there, and how it's reported and the efficiencies of those documentations as we go along. Just to give you an idea, it's kind of important to look at how far the yard has come in terms of how much it's growing. Again, this is just a chart. If you look at the consumables on the bottom, I'll show percentages in the next slide. But there is a drastic increase from 2014 even to current, a tremendous amount of growth and projected growth moving forward. So as I talk about the consumables process, it's important to realize that we're looking at between 2014 and projected growth revenue in 2018, 733% increase. So getting these processes in place now and continue to compound on those is really important moving forward. And also in its application to the yard in general, because that's showing extreme growth as well. This, again, don't pay attention to all the details of it, but it's a 15-step process for how we are filling our orders, and that goes all the way through to the accounting of it here or at the yard and on the project sites, out to the point where we actually are posting it into SAP for the accounting of it. I'd noticed that there was a tremendous amount of time spent in coding, and you want to take a look at these charts and think about, you know, where the area it has the most likelihood for improvement based on how much time is spent there. So working with a lot of people at Oak Park, they've been a huge help, and then also collaborating with different project managers and field accountants, kind of everybody from all over the place to get a general consensus of, you know, the outlook on it and what they see happening or desires or current processes and improvements that could be made. We collaborated, and this just has kind of become a joke because in coding, I mean, we spend so much time on it, and if it's not efficiently entered into our system, sometimes it can create a huge headache trying to look at it and figure out where those numbers are allocated later on. So we changed that process, and I really tried to think about innovation in terms of not necessarily like technological advancements in this aspect, but more based on using what we have existing, which to me meant using Box. So we don't use the physical documentation and paperwork. I wanted to make everything more streamlined, put it right into Box, give the project teams more time to look at their requisites for their consumables and allocate those codes more efficiently. And then in turn, it comes back to me. It's all automated, and that way it can be entered into SAP with those corrections already made. So we're not waiting till the very end and trying to figure out where things are headed or where they've gone to. So implementing looking, I should say, at the old 15-step process, we kind of quantified based on the amount of time spent at the yard in terms of what we do there, fulfilling the orders and the project sites, and how much time the field accountants and project managers are working on those consumable reports there. It costs weekly, just for all of our time, around $2,800, and then for the year, $147,000, and that's based on our current revenue and about 45 yard recs a week. And then implementing what I would like to be doing as far as using Box and streamlining that process. The total cost is reduced to approximately $1,800, and the cost to the company is about $9,700 or $97,000. So the average savings per year, realistically, in cutting down all those steps, is about $50,000. And if you remember that growth chart and the percentage and how much consumables is going to be growing specifically as it pertains to the yard, you're looking at a projected savings of over $100,000 just in utilizing people's time properly, and the cost of them just having to go through this process and not being able to utilize their time in other areas or in creating efficiencies and other things that you might not have thought of while you're doing that process the same way you've done it the whole time. I mean, really the best part about this for me was that I got to work with so many different people and really getting an understanding of the front end of it from our projects, how these things are ordered, their side of it in terms of what they're ordering and the time frames they needed. And it really opened up a whole huge dialogue, not just in consumables, but really just in trying to create better efficiencies overall. So that goes back to the whole point in the beginning. You have a main objective and goal, and then you go back and evaluate that, and now you're incorporating new ideas, new objectives, creating greater efficiencies in other areas that you might not have thought to take a look at. Jamie and Terry, she's not here today, I've worked very closely with them, and they've been very helpful just in getting me to understand the process. And you really have to get that foundation down before you can kind of move forward and try to look at other things and ways that you can get better. Ryan Toe, I mean, he kind of handles all of our yard operations back there. He's got a lot on his plate. So my objective really also in moving forward with this was trying to get stuff off of their plate and help them to make their lives a little bit easier, and hopefully everybody else's life easier. I mean, really that's kind of the goal here, is to do it smarter, work smarter, not harder, and moving forward, kind of make sure that everything follows suit with the kind of revenue and growth that we're going to be looking at in the coming years at the yard. So expansion of the continuous improvement initiatives really focuses on transferring these efficiencies and consumables, kind of taking them and implementing them with like the tools and equipment, even some of our self-performed stuff, which, as I said, pertains to the reseal manufacturing. Enhanced effort and field efficiencies, and really communication. That's the biggest thing. Making sure that everybody's on the same page, collaborating, knowing both sides of the story to really make a great impact in the end, and then replicating those efficiencies throughout the company, so beyond yard operations. And we're looking to double efficiency here at Barton Malow, and I think that's a really good way to do it, is breaking it down, compartmentalizing, and then spreading that out, where and when we can. That's it. Any questions?